Texas A&M's offense was 9th best in the SEC last season. I think it's going to be top 5 this year. I'll tell you why on today's episode of Locked On Aggies.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit more basketball because I think that I want to talk about how to fix this offense to make this team better. We're going to start the show talking a little bit about, in our segment 2 today, we're going to talk about SEC Mike did his SEC power rankings for where we sit right now. And a lot of people are upset about it. And I'm going to tell you why I'm not too upset about it. But we're going to start the show talking about this offense. Last year, Texas A&M's offense, it was quite interesting. The offense overall ranked when it comes to, when it came to yards per game, Texas A&M's offense was 4. Or excuse me, hold on. I'm on rushing, right? Or I'm passing. Hold on, timeout. When it comes to scoring, like points per game, Texas A&M's offense was 9th, like I said. When it came to yards per game, it was a little bit different, partially because Texas A&M was such a good rushing offense. So yards per game, the Aggies were once again 9th at 405.8 yards. Rushing, the Aggies were 2nd, averaging 195.5 yards per game. Passing, the Aggies were 13th with only 210 passing yards per game. So, kind of average that out. Rushing, you're darn good. 2nd best in the SEC. Passing, you're 13th in the SEC. Makes sense why you're around, 9th. I mean, you're you even all that out, and it makes a lot of sense. Points per game, we talked about it, 30 points per game for 9th best in the SEC. So the question is, what's going to have to happen? I'll tell you this. I think that Texas A&M have a weird, I guess you could call it a weird negative prediction for next season. And that would be that I kind of think that the offense won't be the issue for Texas A&M next season. I have concerns about this defensive line, knowing all the elite talent you're losing. I have concerns about the secondary. So knowing that, I think I'm all in on this offense, because I think the difference from me to what a lot of people believe about Texas A&M's offense is I believe in Marcel Reed becoming better this offseason and having a good year next year. I think a lot of people that have, kind of issues predicting Texas A&M to be good or predicting their offense to be good, those issues relate to Marcel Reed. And I mean, at the end of the day, if a media member, fan, person, whatever, doesn't believe in a team's quarterback, it's going to be hard to believe in their offense. So it makes sense to me why people that aren't big Marcel Reed fans don't believe this Texas A&M offense is going to be good. But I personally am a big Marcel Reed fan, and I think that he's going to lead this Texas A&M offense to be a lot better next year. So you got to think about it like this. Texas A&M has already made a ton of improvements at the wide receiver position. And now you have even more guys visiting. I mean, heck, they might bring in 10 receivers at this point. I mean, really, you brought in 4 right now that I'm really excited about, all 4 of them. I think that they all have upside. I think that Concepcion, I mean, he's right now, I think, one of the best players in the portal. I think he's one of the best additions in the portal. I think that he's going to have a massive season for the Aggies this year. And then you bring in the upside players in Craver and Hudson and Wilson. Those receivers are going to be good. You also are improving your tight end room. You bring in Mike O'Reilly. You bring in Nate Borkacher. I mean, you're getting better in this room. Quarterback, You bring in a solid backup in Zeno. I still don't understand. I don't want to go off on the tangent of why. Why do people dislike Marcel Reed as the starting quarterback for the Aggies? But I've seen a lot of Texas A&M fans saying, hey, I think Zeno could be our guy. I just don't see it happening, ladies and gentlemen. I think that Marcel Reed, I don't get why people don't think Marcel Reed can take that step next year. I really don't. That's one thing that is above my head. I don't get why people don't see it, because I see it. So it's a bit frustrating to me always hearing people, say, well, I don't think Marcel Reed's that good. It's like, what have you seen that tells you he can't take that jump in this season? Then, I'll tell you this right now. I think that Texas A&M has a top 2 running back room, and it's not number 2. I think that Texas A&M probably has a top 3, definitely top 5, potentially top 3 wide receiver room. Tight end room is still to be seen. We had Mike O'Reilly on the show. I like his upside. I like Theo. I like Borkature. But someone's got to prove it. Like Mike O'Reilly said on the show the other day, hey, he doesn't have a ton of stats, but he knows who he is as a player. And I think that mentality is exactly what this tight end room needs. It needs someone to come and prove it. I think you're going to see that happen in this tight end room. The offensive line, I feel pretty good about the offensive line. You return a lot of great players. It's going to be a room that is going to, I think, improve once again on an already better season last year. And we talked about it. Heading into last year, the offensive line scared the crap out of me. I thought the offensive line was going to be bad. And I thought that if the offensive line was bad, we were going to be just atrocious. I think the offensive line was good. Don't think it was elite. I think it was good. And I think that it's going to be able to take that step to elite this year. If you have, I'll tell you this right here. Great receivers, great running backs, a great offensive line, and a quarterback room, or in a quarterback in Marcel Reed who's good, you can have a top 5 offense in the SEC. Now, I think that if Marcel Reed is elite, you could have a top 3 offense in the SEC. That's just the reality. I think it can be top 5 just based on, we know you're going to run the ball well, but now you have the receivers that are going to be able to get open. Plus, Marcel Reed should develop a little bit more as a passer this offseason. That's why I think that you're going to still have a top 3 rushing offense in the SEC. But if you can get that passing offense to 7 or 8 in the SEC, you're going to have a net top 5 offense in the conference. And the rushing attack is going to be better than the passing attack. That's just what's going to happen. But if this passing attack can be better than 13th, can be 6th, 7th, 8th, and the rushing attack is 1, 2, 3, this is going to be a top 5 offense. So that is why I expect this offense to take the next step. But I'm serious. The people that have concerns with Texas A&M's offense, I think that pretty much all of those concerns come from the problems on the issues that ladies and gentlemen have with Marcel Reed. I think that some folks have issues with Marcel Reed, and until those issues are resolved, I don't see people feeling better about it. So, I think that this offense is going to take that step. So hear me out. And I want to ask the question, and I'm not quite done with all my thoughts yet, but if y'all are out on Texas A&M's offense, if you just don't see it being better next year, I don't get it. Now, so I want to hear the opinions of Texas A&M fans on this, not Texas fans or whoever fan just coming here and saying, oh, well, Texas A&M sucks. Like, I want to hear genuine reasoning for those who don't think this offense is going to be good this year. Tell me why. Look how we've improved the receiver room, how good our running back room is. Our offensive line is going to be good. You're improving the tight end room, and you got a quarterback who I think takes another step and can be one of the best in the SEC. Like, what are y'all seeing that I'm not? I really want to hear people's thoughts on that, because, Marcel Reed is the prototype quarterback with his ability to run the football that can be a guy in the Heisman conversation if he develops as a passer. He still has to develop as a passer. I'm not saying that he's that now. He's got a lot to improve on. But I think that this offseason, with him being the guy, he might be capable of doing that. So once again, if y'all don't believe this Texas A&M offense can be top 5 in the SEC, Let me know why in the YouTube comments, and not just, well, they suck. I want to hear some genuine, seriously, I mean, I'd like to hear some genuine thoughts on that. So let me know that in the YouTube comments. I'm really curious to hear what everyone that's kind of a little down on the offense has to say. So let me know that right now. SEC Mike, just from the SEC podcast, put out his SEC power rankings for next season, and a lot of folks are upset with where Texas A&M is. I'll share my thoughts coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with the $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and, of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. So, we've talked about this Texas A&M team a lot when it comes to, power rankings and where they're going to be and all that. And SEC Mike has the Aggies 10th. So let's just roll through the top 16. Georgia, Texas, LSU, Bama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, A&M, Vandy, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Mississippi State. So, to me, the issue here is this. I think that of Florida, South Carolina, and Auburn, you'd have to argue that Texas A&M, as of right now, is the more proven team. When it came, I think that South Carolina, you could make the argument. And I know that Auburn and South Carolina both beat Texas A&M last year. But I think if you're looking purely at upside, I get why South Carolina, Florida, and Auburn are ahead of Texas A&M. Auburn, hopefully for that fan base, got their quarterback. I've heard Auburn fans gripe about not having a quarterback for years and years and years. And it sounds like maybe they got one now. Florida, we know, has their quarterback. We know South Carolina has their quarterback. So I like Tennessee, I'm fine being ahead of us. Ole Miss, Bama, LSU, Texas, Georgia. It's the South Carolina, Florida, Auburn that I kind of go, okay, this is where this conversation gets to me a little bit interesting. But I also get it. And I know I saw somebody commented, and it's funny, and I appreciated it, but said, I'm a mole for Texas. That was funny. Not upset about it because, I get what you're saying. I was harping on us a lot. And that's the reality. Sometimes I like to pump sunshine, and sometimes I like to be real about some of this stuff. And I think that Texas A&M is a program that it's time to prove it. So what I guess my point is, I could approach this one of two ways. Right now. I could sit here and scream at this microphone and at my computer, why is Texas A&M 10? They're better than Auburn and Florida and South Carolina. What in the heck? We should be 7. We should be 6. This is bull crap. I could do that. But to me, I think that I'm more of a realist of what has happened with Texas A&M football over the last handful of seasons. And that is, and I don't know if I consider last year that because, once again, it's a coaching change. I'm talking more of the Jimbo Fisher era. And the sad reality is I think that Texas A&M football, in the viewpoint of opposing fans, opposing media, national media, is still almost in that Jimbo Fisher era. Because, people get so annoyed. Texas A&M, they've got the number 2 roster in college football, and they finish 6-5, or 6-6, or 7-5, or 8-4. Why, I'm tired of saying, oh, Texas A&M is going to be really good, for them to just not be good. I really do get that. And I think that that's a little bit of what this is. I mean, Texas A&M was 7-1 at one point last year and had a chance to do something incredibly special. I mean, if you remember the way that Texas A&M's football season ended last year, if you really think about it, it's kind of funny. I've almost like blocked it out. I mean, if you look at it, you got to remember, we start the year with the loss to Notre Dame. You then rattle off win over Florida, win over Arkansas, win over Missouri, win over Mississippi State, win over LSU. And then you go lost to South Carolina, lost to Auburn, lost to Texas, and lose to USC in the bowl game. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a really frustrating end to the season for the Aggies. I mean, you can't agree it's not. So I guess what I'm saying is there's two things I could do. I could sit here and scream at this microphone about where we're ranked because we should be higher than these three teams. But I get where it's coming from. I think that the upside for Auburn and Florida and South Carolina is all there. It's there for us too. I think what SEC Mike and other media personalities are starting to get to the point. They're just saying, like, I've done it enough, man. I've done it enough. We can sit here and argue why Texas A&M can be good, but they just won't. And what I'm saying about this is, and I've said this, I've kind of had a similar spiel to this over the last 2-3 weeks, time or two. But point is, it is time for this football program to prove it can be elite. We have the players, we have the alumni, we have everything necessary. We have the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, we have everything necessary to be an elite program, but we have just struggled to get over that hump. We have struggled to do that. And I think that it is time for that to happen. And until that happens, like, I get it. That's what I'm saying. Do I agree with it? I think Texas A&M, I think our upside is similar to that of Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina. I would personally probably have them ranked higher than a few, if not all three of those teams. But at the same time, I think that once again, I do get it. I get where these people are coming from when it comes to the concerns for Texas A&M and the future of the program. Like, I fully do understand and get that. So that is my arguments on this. Where do y'all's beliefs lie with this argument? Should Texas A&M be higher? Where should Texas A&M be ranked among teams in the SEC? Should they be 7, 8, 9, 10? Should they be higher than 10? Should they be lower than 7? Where should Texas A&M be? Let me know what y'all think about that in the YouTube comments. Really curious to hear what y'all have to say. We're going to talk about Texas A&M's offense on the hardwood. I'm going to tell y'all why I really think that this offense can be better, and I'm going to tell you what it has to do. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you could win up to 1,000x your cash. Yes, that's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. For me, I mean, it's all about. I've been about the hot takes this year, and this week on Prize Picks, I mean, there's a lot of numbers that I am looking at. I like Lamar Jackson's over on passing yards. I like Travis Kelce's more on receiving yards. There's a lot more I like, and we'll talk about those throughout the rest of the week here on Locked On Aggies. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. So Texas A&M's offense on the hardwood, we're talking a lot about offense today. I have been really frustrated with, I think you could argue the offense for years and years now. I mean, Texas A&M. Now, Buzz Williams is a particular type of basketball coach. I get that. He likes to play physical and offensive rebound and all this. And I mean, there have not been the shooters we would have liked for years and years and years now. I mean, right now, you're averaging 76.9 points per game. You are turning the ball over 12 times per game. You're shooting 43% from the field. You are shooting 68.9% from the free throw line and 30% from three. I mean, here's the reality. Two things can be the same. You can be really good at defense and physicality and rebounding and also have some guys who can shoot. I mean, but at the end of the day, what frustrates me is this. This is what makes me so mad about this Texas A&M offense at times, is you take the ball down the court, and then whether it's Wade Taylor or Zerk Phelps or Manny Obaseki, and they just dribble in circles and then take a circus shot. That is not offense. It's just not offense. I want to see offense, and we just don't see it a ton. We just don't see a ton of genuine offense. To me, that is what just has to be better. I mean, it just has to be better for this team is the offense. And I'm not talking about shooting. I'm talking about passing and moving the ball and cutting. That's where my issues come with this Texas A&M basketball team. I mean, it just really does kind of, grind my gears in all reality. Another thing that bothers me, I would really like to see CJ Wilcher on the court more. I mean, he's a career basically 37% free throw shooter. He shot basically 40% last year at Nebraska. And that was on about 4 attempts per game. I think you got to see more than 10 minutes for him. I think that it's hard to get in a rhythm when you're only playing 10 minutes. You can say, well, he's not having his best, he's shooting 36%. He's only averaging 4 points a game, right? True. He hasn't had all that much playing time to get in that rhythm, to get better. So this offense for Texas A&M has a really good basketball team this year. And it's funny because I think they have an arguably terrible offense. I mean, when Wade Taylor comes back, it's going to help. It's going to help to have Manny Obaseki and Zerk Phelps and Wade Taylor to have all of these offensive options. But at the end of the day, you only have 2 players that average more than 10 points. Now, they both average 16. That's a solid number, around 16, about over 15 and a half. But at the end of the day, you need more offense from all over the court. So, tomorrow we're going to preview this game with LSU, an LSU team that just got a win over John Calipari and the Arkansas horrible Razorbacks. We are going to break that game down tomorrow, but it frustrates me because it's like, man, this team could be so good. If you started to run an offense and get open looks and get good shots, this team is a top 10 team in college basketball. But until you're better than pretty much every team in college basketball at rebounding, offensive rebounding, defense in general. I mean, watching that game in person on Tuesday, the Aggies are so damn good at closing on shooters. They're incredible. It looks, there's an open shot, and then you close out like that. The Aggies are so good at so many aspects of basketball. The offense is the issue. If they continue to get Wade Taylor coming back helps, no question. But if they continue to get better at moving the ball and cutting to the basket and the little things that are the important parts of offense, this team can be much better. So that is what I'm paying attention to as a Texas A&M fan moving forward for this offense. So that's what I want to see for Coach Buzz Williams' team to take a step to the next level. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great rest of their Thursday, and we'll see y'all tomorrow on Friday right here on Locked On Aggies.